Okay, we'll progress in this tutorial to look at not only applying effects as we did in the past couple of tutorials to a photograph, or multiple photographs as we did, but also I want to apply an effect that doesn't remain static across its length, i.e. I want to automate an effect so that whatever effect we integrate into the photograph, or this could apply to a video as well, whatever effect that we do apply, I want to be able to, over time, adjust the effect. So by automating the effect over time, we can add some movement. For example, with a black and white effect, we can adjust this monochromatic view so that across time it moves from black and white back into color or back into black and white again, etc., etc. I'll show you what I mean. I'll apply this black and white effect to our first photograph here. So I'll click on here to open up our plugin chooser. I'll choose my Sony black and white plugin, click on add and then on OK. And therefore, as we saw in the previous tutorial, this is by default set to blend with our color version of the photograph at 100% black and white. And that's when it's set like this at 1 at the far right of our slider. If I drag it to the extreme left, then of course we desaturate that black and white effect so that we're not blending it with the original color photograph. And of course anywhere in between is a percentage blend between the original colour and the black and white effect. Now, if I want to adjust this over time, I need to animate it. And to get started, we need to click on this button here. If I roll my mouse over it, well, you'll see it says animate. Click on it first of all, and that reveals this mini timeline. And this mini timeline allows us to add what are known as key points that we stipulate where we want the effect to show through at whatever percentage level. At the present time, this mini CTI is right at the beginning and is displaying at 100% black and white blending through. I can move it, left click on it and drag it to the right over here to around about 4 seconds in, and in a moment this will exactly translate to the time on our main timeline. So whatever settings we make here will be transferred onto our main timeline. Now notice these buttons down here. By clicking on these, I'm not going to do it just yet, but by clicking on here we can add what are known as key points or keyframes. Alternatively, if I adjust my blend amount slider with my CTI at a different position to the original keyframe, which is right at the beginning, well, notice what happens. If I drag right over here, then you'll now see this connecting line that ramps between the beginning and where we've just set at just over 4 seconds. And this will mean right at the beginning, where it says blend amount, that will be 100% black and white, but slowly fading away to reveal the colour of the original photograph over here at just over 4 seconds. Let's have a look at this in action. I'll click on the cross to close. Okay, my CTI is right at the beginning of our main timeline, and you can see in our main view that this means we are working at 100% black and white with our plugin filter. But if I click play, well, see what happens. The black and white moves away and the colour comes back into our photograph. If you want to edit this further, well, click on here once more to call up your video event effects. And for example, if you want this transition from black and white to colour to be quicker, well, grab on your keyframe there. Left click and drag it to the left to a shorter position on this mini timeline. So if I take it to here, around about 2 seconds, then of course the colour will emerge that much quicker. And then if I move my CTI to the right and then click on here, I can add another keyframe, which means if I now come up to my blend amount slider and drag this to the right, then you can see this connecting line between keyframe number 2 and the one we've just added, keyframe number 3, now rises, which of course means we now reintroduce the black and white effect. I'll click on our cross to close so we can watch this. I'll click on play. Here we go. I'll do it a couple of times because it is fairly quick. Okay, so that's the idea then, when we want to animate effects over time. Now, we are doing this with a photograph, but as I say, you can do exactly the same thing if you are using video. Okay? Now, I'm going to leave it here for this tutorial, and in fact, for this section. So, I'll see you in the next section where we look a little bit further at mixing audio together.